Hey everyone, this is Oren. Whether you're coming from a profile website or you just found me on YouTube, welcome. I hope you enjoy this. I'm just going to give you a brief update on the ML initiatives that I've been working on at Solo. Uh, so essentially, we're trying to identify places on a roof where we can place panels. And so you'll see here, we've identified essentially all the flat sections where we can place panels and the obstructions on the roof. You're going to notice some of these obstruction masks aren't great. I haven't hardly put any time into them. I ran them through. I just sketched together a network, ran our data through once. It was a while ago. We only had like 1,000 samples then. And it looked pretty good. I have a lot of confidence that I can improve it, so I haven't spent a lot of time trying to improve it. I've spent a lot more time on this image segmentation problem of identifying each individual roof plane. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the problems that we're having. The big problems we're having is a training data issue. Like we only have 3,500 samples. If we could get even 10,000, it would help a lot. I'll show you another issue of where I didn't quite set up the training data to work right that I actually realized as I was going through this, where um, the training data never has a situation where the roof, the house isn't entirely in the picture, like maybe part of it's cut out. And so when that happens, it kind of freaks out. So that's a pretty easy thing to fix. I'll show an example of that. The three things that are not so easy to fix is the trees, the tree shade, small features, and image quality problems. So I'll walk you through some of those. So this one is a good example of trees. This image got really warped when we scaled it to fit into the network. And it kind of caused some problems down here on the bottom, but maybe just ignore that for a second so we can talk about the really interesting that's going on here is the trees in this upper part. So what we decided to do with the trees is just train the network to go around them and pretend like there's trees there. So you can see this is actually just cutting over the top. Over here in the right corner, it's just kind of cutting around. That's the way we present the data to the network, and so it's really great to see that it's actually working like that. So at least small trees it'll be able to handle no problem. So this one's a good example of small features. So it looks like these are actually two different colors, so it got that right. But down here in the bottom right and kind of the middle right, you'll notice that this is kind of like spilling over its boundary and it's not very clean. A lot of these smaller features are, I think for pretty obvious reasons, hard to really create like a really tight mask around. And then also, right here we kind of have an image quality problem where if you look over here in the upper left and you look at, we know there should be a valley here because we know how roofs are shaped, but if you look at this, like no matter how hard you look, you really can't see there's a valley there. That looks like the rest of the roof. And the network sees the same thing, and that's why on the mask, it's wrapping all the way around. So not sure what we're going to do about that. Maybe we can kind of mess with the contrast or something. I'm not sure. If you have any suggestions, leave a comment. But that's a problem that we are encountering. So this is another really good example of small features. So like this dormer, it doesn't really, it has a hard time really identifying those well. But the most important thing, though, really, is since we're looking to use this to place panels, to automatically place solar panels on this house, the important thing is that it gets cut out because we're not going to place panels on this dormer. And so the important thing is that it gets cut out from this bigger roof plane. Some other methods have problems where they'll just kind of include all this stuff into one roof plane. And that's bad because then you wind up having panels placed on top of the dormer. It doesn't make any sense. So the most important thing is that those smaller features are actually being cut out of the bigger features, even if they're not super accurate. So it would be nice if this was super accurate, but even where it's at, it's going to be okay because we're not going to put panels on those dormers anyways. So this is an example I was talking about, that training issue. So you see how this house is kind of spilling over the edge here? Didn't ever generate any training data that has that happen. And I did that intentionally. Probably wasn't a great idea looking back. Uh, but that's fine because it's something that's easy to fix. So whenever you see a house that's too close to the edge, then you wind up with something weird going on like this. Uh, so that shouldn't be too hard to fix. Uh, this area here, it's interesting too because there's some complicated stuff going on, and so that's so it's almost like it sees all these lines and it's just like, yeah, I don't know where to cut this thing, so we're gonna include it all in one. This is a pretty bad mistake. So yeah, this is another good example of the smaller features problem we're having. Uh, this should all be one feature instead of split up into three. But really that's fine because it cuts it out of the main area, and that's really what we want. We really just want to be sure that we have those main areas fairly well defined. Same thing with up here on this little these little hip area. It's cutting it out of the main area, so we're probably okay. This one, yeah, this one's an ideal candidate. I think these are actually two different shades of blue. So, I mean, yeah, it looks like it nailed it. No problems here. Yeah, this is another one of those situations where we kind of have weird quality issues with the images. It's really hard to tell what's going on down here, and the neural network has problems with it for sure. So some of these images they're a lot less crisp. You kind of get some weird stuff going on. So this one, we're actually making a trade-off to choose to identify those smaller features uh, as much as possible, and sometimes that kind of bleeds through in a negative way. And you see that here, how it's got two different separate, it's separating these when it should really all just be one contiguous piece. This one, another good example of how trees kind of jack stuff up. So at first glance, I bet you didn't even notice that there was a piece of the roof over here, but there is. It's just so dark, it's hard to tell. And the network knows that there's something there, but it doesn't quite get it that it's two different pieces. And then over here in the kind of the bottom section, uh, it can't quite figure out where the roof starts and stops, and so it winds up bleeding over the edge. That's also not great. This one, another problem with trees. These are actually two different shades of blue. I should probably fix that in my visualization. I got two shades of blue that are almost exactly the same. Uh, this one looks pretty good. It doesn't go too far into the trees, and that's fine because if the house is just like way covered with trees, we really don't care about trying to place panels there anyways. Like if there's a little bit of tree cover, we want it to be able to handle it. But if there's a lot, then it's better that it just kind of goes around it. So I would call this one a win. This one, this one's almost perfect, but we're again running into some quality issues where if you look at this ridge over here on the right, this orange area, and then you look at that same area on the just regular photo, we know there should be a ridge there because we know how things are shaped, but just by looking at it, it's really, really hard to tell that there's anything there by looking at the image. So just kind of an image quality issue there. This one, yeah, this one killed it. This one's perfectly good. Just so you know, I just randomly took 20 images that the network had never seen before, and so that's what I'm flipping through right now. And so, kind of getting good variety. But this is meant to be like an actual example of where we're actually at. So these are just 20 randomly chosen images. So some of them are good, some of them are good examples of where we need to what we need to work on. This one, yeah, this one looks good. It's got something weird going on up here, maybe something weird going on down here, but it's small enough we're not gonna place panels on it. So I would again call this one a win. This one, it could be cleaner, would be nice, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So I think we could place panels on this one. This one's another good example of both how roof shade can kind of jack stuff up. So it's pretty confused about what's going on down here with these trees. It gets this main area actually pretty good and cuts underneath this tree. The edge isn't sharp, which is too bad. But then over here, it's another good example of how I messed up with the training data and just now realizing it. this spills over the edge and it just really doesn't know what to do with it. So you get all kinds of weirdness over there. This one, yeah, this one looks like it did pretty much spot on. Uh, there's some places it could be a little sharper, like right here and right here under this tree. It looks like it's trying to do that thing where it cuts under the tree, but then it goes a little too far. And then there's something weird going on right there. But other than that, like this one, we could easily place a system on this, no problems. This one, yeah, super simple roof. Completely crushes it. We've intentionally not labeled these awning things because we're never going to be able to put panels on them. And even for our roofing products that we want to use this for as well, uh, they don't have shingles or anything on them, so it's not going to be worth labeling them out for including them in like how many square feet of shingles you need to replace. So uh, we've intentionally not labeled those in our training data, and so you'll see our network never identifies those either. So this one, yeah, again, super simple roof, just straight up easy town. So looks like it did good on the obstructions too. Oh, but I didn't realize this one also spills over, and so that's why this section here isn't identified. So I'm seeing that a lot more now that I'm going through these. This one did pretty good. Obviously, like I said before, has a hard time with these smaller features. Uh, and with some of the weirdness around trees, like it would be nice if this came all the way down, but really we're not going to stick panels in this area anyways. It's too small, too tight, it's not going to work. And for these bigger areas, like we're still just crushing it. So that's all the examples that I have for you. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. And thank you and goodbye.